Right. The one thing I'll say for both those teams that I actually think, if you look in history, is a pretty solid hallmark of like the best teams of their era and of all time, is the ability to win on the maps that actually aren't particularly your best maps. Like if you remember, the SK with Phelps one was the one that actually was a little bit ropey on Overpass and Train. You know, the classic maps that they were so good the year before, they weren't that good. But you know what? If they played FaZe, I'd have fucking bet my house that they were going to win those maps, even though FaZe was amazing on some of those maps, you know. So it didn't matter. Like Train at one point was FaZe's best map. They still would lose it to SK. So I think if you look in history, that's nearly always a hallmark of like the truly great team, is like they don't just win because they got a series in which they play, you know, 2 of their top 4 maps. They win when it's your map pick sometimes, or they win when it's the decider where, you know, the pick ban just meant they had to play like the 5th map in the pool or something weird like, you know.
It is bonkers that was the lineup where they were like, yeah, we're not feeling that good. We don't, you know, this lineup isn't really gelling the way we'd like it to.
Here's the sickest thing, Moses. This is one thing NA can take credit for. Remember, cause Team Liquid beat them in 2 best-of-3 series, they actually helped to kill that lineup.
Yeah, but just we're
really clinging anything, aren't we?
Listen, you can't necessarily win a war, but you could be like Leonidas and throw that spear that went across that God King's face, make him bleed a little bit, and then get killed anyway. Yeah,
and then FNS destroyed Immortals, so we've got a couple of big accomplishments.
Listen, they're doing some good work. So okay, then I didn't talk about Epicenter. So what did you like about Epicenter?
Epicenter's production value in between sets was really good. The stage itself is just so, to use a killed word doesn't see much play anymore. It was epic. It was so sick. It was like
they centered around that epic nature in some ways. All right.
They do a really phenomenal job. The people that put that together.
With this being recorded after the second Swiss system of the major, don't ask me why it's named that way. That's just the way it is. Now we're on to the round of 8, and of course we will be discussing that topic. I'm the usual host, Thorin, joined by usual co-host Moses, who has the distinction within this chat of being the only one who actually was hired to work at the major, because clearly he's operating some sort of Death Note system where I wondered why one time he was writing my name and yours, Sponge, just below Semler's. I was thinking, that's weird. Why is he making a list of friends? Turns out it wasn't a list of friends. Well, it was, but newly departed, you know. So anyway, congrats to you, Moses, for being a caster at the major, for being an analyst at the major, just for being at the major, you greedy little cunt. No, but seriously, you know, congrats. I'm glad that one of us made it through. The guests for this show are, of course, Launders. Insert something about some Stewie UK video that's just become the internal meme at all times. No, but actually someone who is actually a pretty good analyst. His problem, obviously, is in a world in which now one analyst gets hired to the majors, there's not even any room to break in, is it? We can't even get hired, mate. I can't do shit for you. I can't even get in these motherfuckers. I was hoping to build some sort of underground railroad to get people like you in. Little did I know, the fucking fat controller over there has got everyone on lockdown, hasn't he? Because we're not useful engines. Moses is in his fucking socialist utopia over there.
Listen, Semler's gone. Someone's got to step up and be the Don of this.
It's obviously not going to be Anders. We all know that. He's still like, maybe Markelov will help everyone. Like, shut the fuck up, Anders. Now, it's obviously a common problem generally, but it sounds like it's a big problem in the Brazilian scene, because what it was explained to me is because so many of them come from like legit poverty. For them, even just to be playing at tier 1 and going to every event and having a big salary, that alone is success. Like for some of them, it's not about having to win majors, you know, just having that's pretty sick to them.
I had more faith in the Brazilian lineup just because, you know, of how far they climbed up, and then also being able to do 2 majors in a row. But, you know, they're more than gods in Brazil, and that's something that a lot of players can't say. You know, Fallen's probably the most popular player in the entire planet just because of how big the fan base is in Brazil and how few players there are for them to look up to. But one thing I thought was interesting was the interview that Rush gave at E-League, where he...
By the way, if they're gods in Brazil, can we just join these 2 memes together? Because in that case, Fallen has to be like those people who... I can't even remember where they live now. Those people in Game of Thrones. Because you remember, the like ones who are the fucking faceless men. They worship like the many-faced god.
Oh, yeah,
just put it together there. This Fallen... God, Two-Faced, Toledo, whatever. London doesn't get it. Sorry, he's been out of Counter-Strike for a while. Keep going on. Bring it back. Bring it back.
I stopped watching after Red Wedding, and then I came back and I forgot everyone's name, so I gave up. So
So the tough part to judge Snacks right now is it is kind of unfair because I still think of him as that like top 5, top 3 player in the world who does crazy shit and carries his team. And we haven't seen that since I think like DreamHack Vegas, which is kind of scary. So I don't know how much longer it'll take to kind of shake that image from my mind. But it was clearly he just got to the point where he just wanted the fuck out of Virtus Pro. And I think if you tie in everything, DK's reported a couple times and just to kind of back that up as well, similar to things I've been hearing in the background at events, is that Mouse Sports, there is some discontent. There is something with their players where there's some players unhappy and there's some players who aren't liking the way that things are going. And I think
by the way, sounds like another example of like, right, some of us are thinking of leaving. Fuck, let's do a panic roster move.
Yes.
It's like, I made this analogy, I think, on the last episode, but it's like the thing of like, oh, the relationship's falling apart. Let's have a threesome to save the marriage. It's like, what are the odds that works? Come on, man. That's such a wild, out of control.
Well, it's never going to work if your girlfriend brings in Snacks, is it?
Exactly there. And you're like, what?
She's leaving you 100%.
You're gone.
Well, here's the interesting detail, Davey. He's actually correct. Like, apparently, the way like the taxation works in America is technically like unconstitutional, but that's the sort of thing that you can say that all day long. Like, the IRS is going to bust down your house, take you to court, and they are going to fuck you hard. So he was trying to like go on that tip of like, I don't have to pay tax. And when you consider, obviously, he's made like hundreds of millions of dollars. And so the IRS is like, you owe us about $20 million. It was never going to end well, put it that way.
No. The same thing happened in Canada because income tax wasn't supposed to be a thing, except during, I think, World War I or World War II, they implemented it, and they were supposed to take it away after the war, and they just never did. So it's just like, so some people, every now and then, there's like this big thing like, well, since it was supposed to be taken away, I don't have to pay it. It's like, yeah, good job, man. Keep doing that. Keep doing that. That's going to work out well for you.
I believe that is actually how, I think it might have been income tax. I believe that's how income tax was actually introduced in England. This is fucking baller. It was introduced, Moses, when we had a war with the French like 700 years ago or something. And then afterwards they were like, right, so we're getting rid of this tax thing because the war's over. And they were like, I think we'll just keep it. And it's like, we're still paying it now to this day. Yeah. Like, that's absolutely reasonable to just keep that going. But like, I actually used to, before they were called Splice, when they were called Follow Esports, I actually used to write for that website when they used to do like columns and stuff. This is like 3 years ago. And the thing is, that guy, Marty, the owner, was always like fairly nice to me. So I haven't really seen him do anything too fucked up. Like, he definitely gave his opinion on a lot of shit, which some people might consider obnoxious. But because I was fine with him, I never dissed him. But when Richard was going in on him on that By the Numbers episode, right, where he kept referring to him, because his alias, Moses, is Laser
Chickens, yeah.
And Richard kept referring to him as Marty Laser Lips, the soy boy. I can't lie, like, I was just crying inside. Like, that's funny. So unreasonable.
I didn't see that, but that's funny.
That's so unreasonable.
Only Richard would come up with that fucking name.
And here's the worst thing as well. That now stuck in my brain. Like, every time I see that guy, I have to go, Laser Chicken, yes, Laser Chicken. Like, keep it up, keep the lid on this motherfucker. Here's the problem with Kusta. And I've heard
hasn't he had enough done to him? Can't we?
This will be quick. The main problem that he has.
Band-Aid or what?
Exactly. The main problem he has, Josh, that makes me out on him as a player, right? Is I've heard from too many different teammates over the years now that he himself loses confidence in his opening, and that's why he just goes back to the rifle, Like, I realise that might mean you have amazing talent and whatever, you have unresolved issues. But like, every really good AWPer I know, they're the opposite. Most of them are delusional, mate. They think they're going to hit every shot, and like, you should give them the gun every round, save me that AWP there. Like, then usually I feel like ego AWPing's like, primary AWP is kind of like the ego role, You disagree?
I don't think he's that type of mentality. I think that I think he just like has more fun with the rifle because he feels like you're capable of making more plays with it. Because when we're playing scrims or matches and we're discussing about getting a second up, and sometimes we shared similar positions. So on Mirage, we're both towards B, one of us cat, one of us upper, but we can just like fill each other's spots if we need to.
Well, if you need to. Just a couple of guys, like, lonely, working with each other, missing their wives. Yeah.
You want to up upper B or I can. And, sometimes he'll take it, sometimes I'll take it. And sometimes
I bet you will. Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of players right now that have this like weird idea that you have to have all these like set tactics and structure, and it has to be so rigid. And it's like, dude, it doesn't have to be. Just fucking play. Just think about what's happening, make a decision, and play. You have to get into this almost like flow state where you're just like, I'm acting on intuition. I know what's right and what's wrong. I know what's good, what's bad. And I'm just going to play the game and I'm going to talk to my team. You don't need to have 6 strats. Like, if you know the basic smokes and basic flashes, you say, all right, like, we're playing overpass. They have 3B, they're 2 push back on A. Let's do truck smoke and mid-site smoke, and I'll flash you guys in. Like, what's fucking hard about that? It takes 2 seconds to set up. And then if everyone just understands, like, oh, I'm going to go in first. Okay, I know I'm going to create space. Oh, this guy's going in first. I'm going to go in and swing off, and I'll get the trade kill on him. Oh, I'm doing the flashes. I know as soon as I do the smoke and the flashes, my teammates are going to go in. I'm going to trust them to get the kills. I'm going to watch the flank. Like, what's so difficult about players just being able to understand what their fucking job is in that round at that time? I feel like everyone needs to be like, oh, if I don't play this position on CT side, I'm not going to have fun. If I don't have fun, I'm not going to play well. It's like, what the fuck is that? Just play the game. Like, I can literally play any spot on any map. It doesn't fucking matter. Give me time and I'll play it. I won't be like, oh, I don't want to play that spot. And I'm going to learn how to do it. I know the basic smokes. I know the basic philosophy. I just need reps. Some players are just like, I need this, otherwise I can't perform.
Listen,
What?
Josh, you're from the old guard though. That kind of a mindset. I mean, I know you hate to say it, but you're part of the old crew of Counter Strike where you actually had to do that kind of shit. You
The problem is,
like,
Moses,
little
like-
selective whiny bitch.
Like, everything he just said there was brilliant, right? But in the modern day world, when he's in like the FaZe locker room, the second he finishes that speech, it's not like any given Sunday, and they're like, yeah, they all just turn to each other and go, get this guy the fuck out of it. Like, that's the problem. I think it's brilliant, but they would all hate it. Mate. Like,
Don't you know I'm still standing better than I ever did? And that's in part thanks to my Patreon community, the Skrilluminati. So this video was kindly supported by Frisky, Matt Pugnatio Rajcula, Ahmed Hadjou, Jensen Goh, Tobias Bernasconi, Adam Tomlin, Animosity, Thooorin, Tosh, and you know it if you've ever seen my videos before. If you don't get to know it, because a special thanks goes out to my main man, Jerky's Minion. Want to ask a question for my video AMA? Do you want to suggest a topic or a guest? Maybe you want to see who the upcoming guests are on my shows, on my interviews. Or do you want to be part of one of those lengthy esports discussions where you set the table of topics? Well, if any of those perks or others catch your fancy, put your money where your mouth is and join the Skrilluminati today, where? Via the Patreon link in the description box.